Welcome to the Partnerships in Clinical Trials Latin America podcast series. Partnerships in Clinical Trials Latin America will be taking place August 1st through the 3rd, 2011 in Sao Paulo, Brazil. Today we have Diego Martin Glanspiegel, Corporate Vice President of PARAXEL International, Brazil, who will be the chairperson at this upcoming meeting, as well as leading a session on developing true strategic partnerships, tips for effective outsourcing relationships. Diego Glanspiegel is a Corporate Vice President of Clinical Research Services at PARAXEL International. His experience includes the implementation of global drug development strategies, developing regulatory strategies for drug development, budget planning for investigational projects in Phase 1 through Phase 4, assessing and aligning resources with business needs, assuring staff management in the region is consistent with company policies and procedures, including salary planning, performance management, staff development and training, and overall leadership of local management teams across all business units. He's provided leadership and support to local and regional project teams as needed and oversees the regional implementation of SOPs and policies, reviews and approves all client contracts, and his therapeutic areas of expertise include cardiology, infectology, women's health, CNS, and oncology. Welcome to the show, Diego.
Thank you very much, Tanya.
It is well known that mergers and acquisitions are rampant in the pharmaceutical industry this year. Why do you think this is happening, and can you give us an overview of what impact M&A has had in Latin America?
Yes, sure. Well, the main reason why mergers and acquisitions are ramping up in Latin America is because Latin America is becoming a very important pharma market now. If you see countries like Brazil and Mexico, for example, are among the top 12 countries in terms of pharma product sales. So it makes the market very attractive and for international pharma, for multinational pharma, and also the fact that the generic market in Latin America is also very strong. Global pharmas are very interested in acquiring local generic companies in order to penetrate this market.
Are you seeing a lot of growth with biosimilars in Latin America, given the generic market landscape in the region?
Yes, I am seeing, a lot of potential for biosimilars. In fact, regulators, particularly in Brazil, but also in Mexico, again, the two most important pharma markets in the region, are discussing about changing the legislation for biosimilars for them to be, very much in line with global regulations. And they will heavily promote the expansion of biosimilar products in the region, well, in this case, in Brazil and Mexico, right?
What are some of the notable mergers and acquisitions that you've seen taken place in Brazil since the beginning of the year?
I don't know since the beginning of the year, but lately, I guess the most notable one was the acquisition of Medley by Sanofi Aventis. I think probably that was the most notably in Brazil. But also the most recent one, I could say, was in Argentina, and it was done by GSK, GlaxoSmithKline, to Phoenix, was the fourth largest local pharma in Argentina. So I guess those are the latest and the most important ones, and then also created an impact, in the local market.
So you're seeing some of the global pharmaceutical companies buy the local or regional pharmaceutical companies that are strong in their respective markets.
Yes, correct. I am seeing, that these companies, the multinational companies are very interested in these companies. And the main reason why, well, one is the one I explained before. They really are very strong in the generic market, but also they have a very large and strong sales force and a marketing presence, which is critical, for the success of these multinational companies in the local market. So that's what I see.
Are you seeing any negative impacts in terms of regional drug development that are occurring as a result of some of the mergers and acquisitions?
No, really, because historically the local companies have not been investing heavily in drug development. So I guess more the impact will be more on, say, on the commercial side, because they are interested in the local knowledge of these companies, so they basically they improve the way they sell products and they are more effective in the way they sell products in this country.
Mm-hmm. What about, there are many countries in Latin America that are still considered emerging regions. Do you think mergers and acquisitions will be more rampant in some of those regions, or are you seeing it more in more established and mature markets like Brazil?
I think the mergers and acquisitions will continue ramping up, particularly in Brazil, Brazil and Mexico, because of the market size. Those are, again, the largest markets. Maybe in other markets also we will see some acquisitions, but again, companies are very, very interested. Multinational companies are very interested in increasing their sales in these markets because they are growing at a higher rate than a traditional pharma market. So, and because innovation, we are seeing less innovation and more generic products. They want to strengthen their positioning in the marketplace by acquiring local companies.
Mm-hmm. Makes sense. Now, one of the things that at the upcoming Partnerships in Clinical Trials Latin America meeting you'll be presenting on is some of the strategic partnerships and some of the tips that sponsors and CROs can use for building an effective outsourcing relationship. Let's talk a little bit about what that entails. In your opinion, or in your own definition, what makes an outsourcing partnership strategic?
An outsourcing partnership makes it strategic when you basically when the vendor or the third party vendor integrates with the client or the sponsor in this case. So when you integrate your processes, also you create sort of a governance committee to strategically discuss the directions of your pipeline and how you are going to develop your products and discuss this with your partner. The partnership becomes strategic. This is, I think, it's a big shift in the industry because the outsourcing in the past, it was more tactical than strategic. And now the discussions between CROs and sponsors are more on how they will develop the products and how they can be more efficient in developing the products than outsourcing a particular study or project. So that's the way I see it.
And at what point do those discussions happen?
Well, that's a good question. I think, and it's a very good question related to Latin America, because I think Latin America has very little input in this discussion. Basically, Latin America, one more region, and that is the results. Basically, it's more in the implementation phase that in the discussion of the strategy. So this is typically happening at a high level or at a headquarters level, and not at a lower level like in Latin America.
So for working in Latin America, you feel like the challenge is more in the implementation because the region isn't necessarily part of the initial strategic discussions?
No, I think this is the same for all. The same concept applies to all regions, not only to Latin America. I think when a sponsor makes a strategic decision to outsource their operations to one or two CROs, because that's what this strategic partnership is all about. Basically to concentrate the number of vendors you use and integrate with your vendor. This is a discussion that you have at a higher level and not at a regional level. So the region is more an executor of the global strategy than that participates in the discussion of the strategy.
Yep, got it. And what do you think the biggest mistakes sponsors make when outsourcing in Latin America?
Probably the biggest mistake is to believe that the local market operates the same way as, the Latin American market operates the same way as the other regions or where headquarters are located. And each country is different. You have to be respectful about the culture, also about the way the regulatory authorities think regarding clinical trials, and what the most effective way to recruit patients and provide data quality could be for this region. So I think that's the understanding of in summary, the understanding of the local culture is critical for the success of any clinical trial.
Are you seeing any specific type of strategic relationship proving to be most effective in the Latin America marketplace?
Yes, I think it's very important. I mean, to establish a very close communication with, particularly when the strategic partnerships are happening typically at between large global pharmas and CROs, some other pharmas as well, but it is not something that we see very often with small biotech pharma. So typically those multinational companies or multinational pharmas have affiliates, it's the local operating companies in Latin America, and the communication between the CRO local affiliates and the sponsor local affiliates are critical for the success of any project, and to have a common interpretation of the strategy these two companies are trying to put in place in order to be successful executing clinical trials.
For people from biotech, pharma, medical device companies, or from CROs who have never worked in Brazil in particular and are looking to do clinical research in that country, do you have any crucial tips or considerations that they should be thinking about?
Yes, I think it's very critical for them to rely on a local partner. A local partner is not only, or local partners are not only the CROs, are also the investigators, are also, other providers, courier, drug supplies companies. So are basically the vendors in general. And it's very important for these people to come to the region, to come to the countries where they plan to run the studies, to meet with the investigators, understand how they think, how they work, what the local culture, what the local culture is, and understand the market before they make the decision to come and work in Latin America. It's not very complicated. It's just a matter of understanding the market and relied on investigators, which are extremely good in the region. The typically quality coming from Latin America is very high, very good, but they need to know the market, they need to understand the environment.
Well, thank you for all of your insight today and for joining us, Diego. For more information on Diego's presentation and the rest of the Partnerships in Clinical Trials Latin America agenda, please visit our webpage at www.pctla.com.
Thank you very much.